Welcome back to All Again, where passion meets music, and in this video I am going to look at the difference between vinyl and CD. I have 10 criteria that I'm going to look at, so let's dive straight in here. Number 10, the packaging, so the visual artwork. Well, obviously CDs are much smaller than vinyl, so if we look at this CD here, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, of course it's a very colourful and imaginative cover, originally released on vinyl, but on CD it really doesn't do it justice. It's hard to see what's been shown here. The colours don't jump out as much as it would on vinyl. I don't own this on vinyl, so I can't really compare, but I would imagine on vinyl that this particular CD of the Beatles' Sgt. Pepper's looks absolutely fantastic. With vinyl, obviously, this is not my own vinyl, so disclaimer, but this is the best of Smokey, and you can see there it's absolutely huge. So you can just imagine if we had Sgt. Pepper's in this size, it would be great to see all of the detail in there. Okay, so the first one goes to vinyl. Next, I'm going to look at the packaging in terms of the outer sleeves. So we'll start off with CD again. It's so simple, especially if you dual case like this. You just pop it open. There's your CD, ready to go. CD is well protected in the dual case like this. Not so well protected in some of the more cheap digipacks, the cardboard versions. I don't really like them too much, but on a standard dual case, once you look after it, it will keep the CD safe, and it's very easy to get to it and put it on. No hassle. With vinyl, if you really want to look after your vinyl, you need an outer sleeve like this one here. So it's a plastic sleeve that stops the cardboard from getting wet or damp or degraded in any way. Okay, then we move on to the actual sleeve and we pull out the vinyl. Now, most vinyls will have an anti-static inner sleeve that the vinyl is actually housed in, and this is very important to stop any dust or hairs or fibre from sticking to your vinyl record. And then inside this inner sleeve, we have the actual vinyl. So there you go. There's 3 pieces to get through, or 3 pieces of packaging to get through to get your actual vinyl, and then you need to leave those sitting somewhere while you're listening to your vinyl. So again, I think that's a bit much. I would give the score to CD on this one, so it's 1-1. We'll go into the next one there. The next one is the length. So the length of a vinyl, obviously, as we all know, vinyl is limited. It's got about 20 to 22 minutes on each side. That's the maximum amount of music you will get on each side. So total length of your album is anywhere from 40 to 44, 45 minutes. CD is different. CD is not as limited as vinyl. You'll get anywhere between 74 and 78 minutes of music on one CD. Now, this is a good thing because it meant that artists weren't as restricted when CDs came in. They could make longer tracks and all things like that. But on the negative side, it meant there was no restrictions, and I actually happen to like the restrictions of vinyl in terms of the length of an album, because I think the perfect length for an album is anywhere between 35, 40, 45 minutes. Anything longer than that, it's really too long, and it should be a double album. So that's the reason I think vinyl wins out on this one. I think shorter albums are better, and when artists and record labels are forced to put all the material onto a single vinyl, I think it's a better outcome for everyone. You get better quality music, all of the best songs are included on the album, all the fat is cut, and also it keeps it in 2 halves, which I think is quite cool. Okay, the fourth reason I think, or the fourth reason we're going to examine, should I say, is the double album format. So, like I said, if someone wanted to make a double album, they would have to make 2 vinyl, and it would be 80 minutes. So it would be pretty much limited to 80 minutes, but you'd have 4 individual parts. The double album concept, when vinyl stopped being produced back in the 1990s and CD was the main format, the double album kind of died away. I know Smashing Pumpkins had a great double album, you would call that, in the mid-1990s, Melancholy and The Infinite Sadness. But to be honest, that was a very long album, and there probably was a lot of songs on there that probably shouldn't have made the final album. But I think that the vinyl, with the way it was a double album, it was limited to 4 sides of 20 to 22 minutes, and that was absolutely perfect. That's long enough for a double album. And as well, it was broken up. But when CDs come in, you could essentially put a double album of what would have been vinyl, 80 minutes, onto one CD, and it just took the whole double album format out of the equation, and I didn't like that, to be honest. So that's another one for vinyl. So far it's 3-1 to vinyl. Now we look at the The convenience. Okay, so when you're listening to CD, if you're listening in your player, as I say, you don't have to get up and change it after 20 minutes because it runs out on the vinyl and you have to change it to the other side. You can actually just leave the CD on and it'll play right through. And I think this is a great thing when you're listening to an album, if you don't want to have to get up and change that around. It interrupts your listening experience, in my opinion. Yes, it is good to have bookends or to have groups of songs in groups of 20 minutes. I think that is a positive thing. But I think with CD, just the convenience of not having to flip over to the other side, I think that was a massive plus. And that's why I'm giving that mark to CD. So that's 3-2 to the vinyl at the moment. Next thing I want to talk about is durability. So obviously with vinyl, they are not as durable as CDs. They can be very easily scratched or nicked, or even as you play them over time, if you're not using an expensive needle and you're not taking care of your records, they can become warped, they can become scratched, and every time you play a vinyl, it actually degrades the surface. So you're degrading your vinyl, but you're getting a lower quality product and a lower quality experience as you go on through the life of the vinyl. So eventually a lot of vinyl ends up being unplayable, which essentially means it doesn't sound good after 10 years if you play these vinyl records regularly. CD doesn't have the same issues. CD will sound the exact same as long as there's no really, really bad scratches in a CD. It will generally play, and it will play for the whole lifetime. I have CDs here behind me that are over 30 years old, some even 30, 33 years old maybe, and they still play absolutely perfectly. Some of them have scratches, some of them skip here and there, but they're very easy to replace and cheap to replace. Unlike vinyl, that's kind of it, you're done. You can also back up your CDs onto your computer and then rip them if you want. If there was ever an issue that a CD got scratched, the original version, you could rip a high quality version and put that in your jewel case and you're good to go. You don't have that luxury with the vinyl. So that's why where we're at now. We're at 3 for vinyl and 3 for CD. So now we move on to category number 7, which is the acceptable playability and the cost around this. So a lot of people that buy vinyl these days, they'll buy it just to look at the artwork and take it in as a visual element. They might not even listen to it. But some people that do listen to it, or a lot of people that do listen to it, should I say, they listen to it on what's called a suitcase player, okay, which is one of these vinyl players that actually folds up like a small suitcase, like a bag, and you can carry that around. It's mobile, it opens up, you put your vinyl in, and that's absolutely fine. But they don't sound very good, and a lot of them, they kind of Bluetooth, or the outputs for them aren't great. There's no built-in amps in them, or you certainly can't hook them up to an amp, and these sorts of systems aren't great at reproducing the quality on vinyl. So I don't think these have been a great idea for vinyl. Okay, it's an easy way of playing your records. For, you know, if you have 200 or 300 euro to spend, you can get a suitcase vinyl player and you can play your vinyl records absolutely fine. But if you're looking for a high quality experience, you actually need to go and invest a lot more than that. You could be up on €1,000 to get a very high quality vinyl experience, and I'm talking about, you know, high quality arm, high quality needle, stylus, the correct belt, a nice turntable, have it hooked up to a separate amp. All that costs money. So to really get a good experience with vinyl, you could be talking up on €1,000. It's not the same with CD. If you go and buy a budget CD player, it probably won't sound great, but you'll get to a decent level without spending too much money, maybe 100, €150. I bought a high-end CD player, and even at that, it's not the highest end you can get. It is a Denon CD player, and it comes with 2 individual separate speakers. It's got a built-in amp, a built-in DAC to it, and it came in around €400, I believe. So that's, you know, that's some of the highest end you can get. Of course, you could spend much more money, but you would wonder whether it's diminishing returns at that point. You're spending money to get a higher upgraded system, but the improvement in sound maybe isn't weighing up in line with what you're spending. So I think CDs, to get an acceptable level of playability, I don't think you have to spend as much money to get your CDs to that point. I'm talking about the quality of sound here. Okay, next thing I want to talk about is the actual cost of the CDs themselves. So as we all know, vinyl has gone very, very expensive worldwide. So we're talking about, in Ireland anyway, we're talking about for a single vinyl disc, a new album, or even a reissue, we're talking anything between €35 and €40 per album, which is absolutely crazy money. It's over the top in my opinion, and it's not fair on consumers and young people who are getting into vinyl. They're trying to experience this, and I do think a lot of it is the record labels. It's not the store's fault. The stores are basically buying it in, and they have to make a markup on it. So I wouldn't blame the record stores, but I think the record labels are absolutely trying to make a killing here and make a massive profit. I understand vinyl costs a lot of money to press, and there isn't as many pressing plants around and all those issues, but from what I see, it's just too expensive for people to be able to buy a lot of vinyl regularly, unless, you know, they have the money or they really don't do anything else, you know, and they're able to put the money into that. When it comes to CD, however, they are much cheaper, and certainly on the second-hand market, as I've spoken about on this channel many times before, you can pick up CDs for €5 or less second-hand, and 99% of them play absolutely perfectly. If you look at new CDs, then they're anywhere from €10 to €15. So they're starting to creep up now, as you know, people are realizing, or the record labels are realizing, that CDs are starting to sell a lot, almost as many units as vinyl year on year now. But I expect that will probably increase. That's just the way the market's going. But at the moment, still from €10 to €15, you'll pick up a brand new CD, and I think that's definitely good value in comparison to vinyl. So I give that one to the CD as well. So now we are up to 5 for the CD, 3 for the vinyl. Okay. The next thing I want to talk about is compression. So unfortunately with CD, they can be very heavily compressed. And what that does is it increases the overall volume of the music, okay? So it doesn't give the user a choice to up the volume if they want to hear things louder. The default volume is made louder, and the way they achieve that is they compress the files, or compress the actual music. So they take out the high end and low end, or the high volume, low volume, should I say, and they have it compressed as like a brick wall effect. And this was, you know, this came out in the 1990s and 2000s with the loudness wars. Of course, Metallica's Death Magnetic was the worst culprit of this compressed sound, and everybody will be well familiar with that. If you're, you know, interested in Metallica production styles or CDs, you will know that CD is heavily compressed, and it does take away from the music because it is a great album. But with vinyl, you're restricted. You cannot compress the music like that, because essentially the vinyl will not be able to be compressed. It's the format that it's got. You're limited in the amount of bass you can put through a vinyl, and as a result, it means you're going to get a lot clearer sound, and then you're relying on your amp to push the volume. So that's why vinyl for some people is a better medium, and I totally get that. So number 9 goes to vinyl. So we're currently at 5 for CD, 4 for vinyl. So the last item I just want to talk about is the storage. So with vinyl, when vinyl is on your shelf, if they're stacked like this, the spine doesn't have any information on it, and basically to see what vinyl you're looking at, you have to flick through them hand by hand. And they also take up a lot of room. Like if you have, you know, hundreds of vinyl this size, they will take up a lot of room. CDs are much smaller. Obviously, they're smaller in size in terms of the height and the width. They're a little bit thicker on the side, but the advantage with that is you get the spine, and the spine is basically, as you can see here on my CD spines behind me, you can very easily sort them out by alphabetical and chronological order, and then you can go and pick a CD off the shelf very easily, because the spine is there. It tells you the name of the band and the name of the album. You don't have that luxury on the vinyl, and that was always something that I didn't like about vinyl. So I think CD gets the win on this one. So that's in total 6 points for CD and 4 points for vinyl. So for me, I think CD wins out over vinyl in this comparison, but that's just me. I haven't even spoken about the quality of sound that you can get from vinyl versus CD. I dove into it a little bit on compression, but I didn't even talk about items like dynamic range and clarity and frequencies, and there is hundreds and hundreds of videos on YouTube about that. It's something I can cover here. If you want me to, I can give you my honest opinion. Certainly leave a comment below if you would like to hear that, and leave a comment below what medium you prefer to listen to. Do you prefer vinyl? Do you prefer CDs? Or maybe you don't listen to either, maybe you just stream all your music. Please let me know in the comments below how you like to enjoy your music. And also, if you like this video, please hit the like button, and I will talk to you on the next one. Bye for now.